My dear brothers and sisters, we were having a Bible study on the book of Exodus, and we have completed almost 19 chapters and 20 chapters, and today we are going to reflect about the 21st of Exodus, 21st chapter. So now before we start the 21st chapter, we need to know this chapter 21 and chapter 22 and chapter 23 is in fact 3 chapters full of laws and rules and regulations which God gives. So far, when Israelites were in Egypt, there was no official rules and regulations. The law was not given to Israelites. The law was never given to the Israelites because the Israelites never experienced God. They never had a God experience, so there was no law. When there is no God, the God experience, there is no law. Only their conscience was their law. And there was no official binding law. So therefore, there was not much, the sin was not so active in them. So where there is no law, there is no sin. The law comes when there is disorder and disobedience and all those things. So God never wanted to give us law if we were following the conscience. That is why initially when God set Israelites free from Egypt and leading them to the wilderness experiences, guiding them through the daily life, God never gave them any law, rules and regulations. The only law was, I am your God, trust me. I am your God, trust me. But God was telling them again and again and again, I am your God, trust me and follow me. I am your God, trust me and follow me. But people disobeyed. People went on obedient to God. And they rebelled, they questioned, they doubted, they attacked, they wounded the one who is standing in the place of God. But like Moses, they were totally against. Still, God has not abandoned them. Still, God took all of them. And then God knew these people needs law, strict law and strict restriction and the control to be guided in the right path. Therefore, God said, okay, in order to incite, instigate some kind of reverential fear in front of God, God gave all of them a God experience on Mount Sinai. That is what we reflected the other day, 2 days ago. So God gave a Mount Sinai experience. The first time the Israelites experienced God face to face. They heard the voice of God directly. Until then, they only heard the voice of God through Moses. Moses said, God said like this, so that's what they believed. But now they heard the voice of God directly. So, my dear brothers and sisters, is it possible for human beings to experience God's voice directly? 600,000 men and so many hundred thousands of women and children were in the group of Israel. They all heard the same voice from the same mountain, the same thunder and lightning. They all heard it. They saw the power of glory. They literally saw. When I explain all these things, you may wonder whether these things really happened or is it only written in the Bible, but where it really happened. But let me tell you, my dear brothers and sisters, it really happened. It is true. The thing. These are historical event. This really historically happened. And if you ask me whether these things will happen, whether everyone, hundreds and thousands of people can see such kinds of miraculous things in front of their eyes with their naked eye, is it possible? Yes, it is possible. We have some examples. We have examples in the last century, the recent century. Some of them are still alive, those who have this experience. Who are they? I'll give you 2 examples. There are so many examples, but 2 examples. One is the miracle of Fatima. Miracle of Fatima, where more than 70,000 people witnessed the miracle of Fatima the last day. Those of you who have not heard about it, it's good to have an investigation about it. Go and find out. It's available everywhere in the YouTube and Google. You will find out all the details of the miracle that happened in Fatima, where more than 70 to 80,000 people witnessed a miracle at the same time. Everyone, the same miracle they experienced. The dancing sun and the sun falling onto the earth, and everyone scattered. They cried and ran away from this miracle because they thought the sun is falling down on earth and they are all going to perish. They thought the earth is going to end. So everyone screamed and ran away from that spot. This 70,000-80,000 people. So that is called the miracle of Fatima. That is historically happened. It came in the newspapers in the country, and it spread. Even so many thousands of atheists and those who not believing in God got converted after seeing this miracle. So this is historical. And another one that happened in 1960s, in which was also another miracle of Mother Mary, that happened in Egypt, a Muslim country, and in Egypt a place called Zaytun. And a place called Zaytun, there is a Holy Family shrine. On the top of the church, Mother Mary appeared, and one gentleman, a Muslim person who was running a shop in front of the shrine, and he happened to, he was running a garage, and then suddenly he looked at the top of the church, and on the top of the church he found a lady standing there and walking. And then, so she thought, this man thought it is someone who is going to commit suicide. He is standing on the top of the temple. So then this man got shocked, and he started screaming and crying loudly and making noise. And then everyone started seeing this miracle, and one by one everyone came, and they started shouting and said, don't jump, because they thought she's going to jump. But later they came to know it was not an ordinary human being, because that lady is not touching the temple with the church, and she is just freely moving on the dome of the church. And then within no time, within 5 to 6 minutes, and thousands of people flocked in that area, and they all saw Mother Mary walking on the dome of the church and waving the hands, smiling. Some people even mentioned that they could even see the teeth of Mother Mary, and she was waving the hands and blessing them, everyone. And almost for 15 minutes, Mother Mary stayed on the dome of the church. And it is not once, but it continued for 3 years. Even the president of Egypt, Gamal Abdul Nasser, also witnessed this miracle. And it is historical fact. And if you can check in the YouTube and Google and everywhere, and you will find this miracle at Zaytun. And there was a time, there was more than 600,000 people witnessed this miracle. In the span of 3 years, it is believed there is not even one single person who lived in Egypt, he or his family, somebody has witnessed this miracle. That means almost 90% of the people in Egypt witnessed the miracle of Mother Mary in Zaytun. That is historical fact. So like these miracles are happening, apparitions of divine theophany is taking place even today, even in this century. And then how much more will be in the first 3,000 years ago. And that is why this theophany of Mount Sinai was so powerful and so important for the life of Israelites. And that is why Israelites were so united, and they were empowered to go through this wilderness journey to the promised land for more than 40 years with this faith. And though they failed in many times again and again, that also shows our weaknesses. Though we know these miracles are happening in Fatima and Zaytun, Medjugorje and Garbandal and Luz and all the other places. We know these things are happening. We have heard it, we have seen it, we have witnessed it, and we have even witnessed miracles in our own life. But we go back to square one again, because that's human tendency. Because that is why our life is like a constant battle. Until the last breath of our life, we need to fight against the evil one who is tempting us and trying to make us fall into sins. So that is why after this theophany experience, God is demanding the commitment from human being. God is demanding the obedience from human being. God is demanding obedience to the rules and regulations of human being. God has given rules and regulations. So God said there should be a discipline. Because before this law, there was no discipline. Anybody could have, there were many gods. Everyone had their own tribal gods, main god and small gods, and so many gods. And everyone had so many wives, so many husbands. And there was no rules and regulation because everyone had uncontrollable slavery, and we could make other slaves and make them permanently slaves. So slavery was very active. All these things were very practical and very active in the society until then. But now God is slowly started changing them. God is not stopping sudden stop, but slowly God is guiding them and say, this you have to control, this you have to control, this you have to control, this is how you have to focus on. So God is teaching them the true morality. Now we are going back to the old type of morality, relativism. In the beginning, before God gave these rules and regulation, it was only relativism that was active. What is relativism? Relativism means what I feel good, I will do. What you don't feel, I don't care. So I will do what is best for me, and I don't care about others. So this is kind of a relativism. My mind is my morality. My thought, my feelings are my morality. That is called relativism. Nowadays it has become like this. So do you have this faith? Okay, your faith is acceptable. You have this faith? Okay, your faith is also acceptable. You have this ideology, your ideology is also acceptable. And likewise, we are accepting all the ideologies, all the faith, all the good and bad and everything, and accept it, and there is no morality. This is called relativism. So many moralities. Terrorists have got their own morality. Satan worshippers have got their own morality. And the other human beings have got their own morality. Individuals have got their own morality. And this is exactly what was prevailing at the time of before the Exodus. This is exactly what happened before Exodus. Prehistoric time. Now we are becoming prehistoric people. So we have got the civilization. The civilized people are becoming more and more prehistoric people. So that is the situation that we experience right now. We think this is civilization, these new ways of understanding the relativism and individual morality. This is civilization. If you look around, you can see this is not civilization, because the more we demand these things, there is anarchy in every country. Terrorism is increasing. Hatred and revenge and divisionalism and far leftist and far rightist are increasing everywhere. Therefore, we are going old. We are going back to square one. We are going back to square one. We are becoming more and more rude and cruel, and the people with any morality. And we are going back to the prehistoric time. Unfortunately, because we forgot the true morality, that is Jesus Christ. Jesus is the morality for us. Jesus is the morality. And everyone should look at Jesus and change our life. Now we don't look at Jesus. We have no one to look at. We don't look at Jesus. We don't even look at some good people in the world. And in fact, if you want to look at somebody, you are looking at wrong people. Wrong people who are giving wrong models. Wrong in those who are addicted to drugs and drinks and killing people, they become our models. Those who are destroyed their family life and having many marriages, they become our models. Role models. Our children. The other day, I happened to speak to a teacher, and she said, Father, these days, if we say that person is a good person, everyone, oh, he's a good person. They feel bad about being good. But if we say he's a wicked man, then that is a quality. That is understood as a quality and adjective. I mean, something, something to be happy about. So this is how the world has become. The more you show yourself, your body, your expressions, the way you grow your hair and your beard and your every aspect of your body, and you want to give a horrible look, then you are acceptable in the society with all the tattoos, the terrifying tattoos and every other thing, and we are acceptable. And you feel more appreciable. So this is the situation today. Let me tell you, this is exactly how in the prehistoric time human beings looked like. And we are going back to square one. And we call it civilization. This is in fact prehistoric civilization. There is no civilization. Everyone's relativism. So this is dangerous for our society, my dear brothers and sisters. We need a common morality. Otherwise there is no unity. If there is a common morality and everyone look at that person and look at that morality and change their life, there is unity, there is peace, there is happiness. Why? Once upon a time, there was, there are places where the rules and regulations were established based on the 10 commandments, and there is peace and joy and happiness. So this is something that we need to know. Our rule and regulation is our Holy Spirit. So let's go back to read, and therefore with this background we need to understand the Exodus chapter 21. So that is why I just gave you background information. So now let's read 21 verse 21, chapter 21 verse 1. There are the ordinances that you shall set before them. Now God says, now I'm giving you some ordinances that you should set before them. Which are the ordinances which God gives? Let's read. When you buy a male Hebrew slave, he shall serve 6 years, but in the 7th he shall go out a free person without debt. Now, for the first time, God is abolishing the slavery. There is a misunderstanding in many people's life. It is Christians who started the slavery and all those things. But in fact, in the Bible it says, it is the Bible who started abolishing the slavery for the first time. Until then, if you have a slave, you can keep that person for slavery for many years, as long as you want, because that is permissible. But for the first time, the first rule God gave is, okay, you have slaves, 6 years. After that, set them free. No more holding them. They should be free. Because God is giving some boundaries for everything. It's not cut and right, it's cutting off everything, because every system, society, government has got many supporting systems. Suddenly all the workers are chased out, stopped, then there won't be anything. So as we consider the civilization or maybe a big nation, then there should be volunteers, laborers, workers and all these things. So it cannot be stopped immediately in a proper way. Within one word, we cannot stop anything. So, but God says 6 years, after that, no more slavery. These people should be set free. And for the first time in the history, officially slavery becomes unholy. And God says it should be stopped. Praise the Lord. So let's read verse 3. If he comes in single, he shall go out single. So if this slave comes in your family as single person, he should go back as single. If he comes in married, then his wife shall go out with him. So God started giving so many rules and regulations, and we can just go through reading it. Verse 4. If his master gives him a wife and she bears him sons or daughters, the wife and her children shall be her master's, and he shall go out alone. And verse 5. But if the slave declares, I love my master, my wife, my children, I will not go out a free person. So if somebody wants to continue, then his master shall bring him before God. He shall be brought to the door or the doorpost, and his master shall pierce his ear with an awl, and he shall serve him for life. So this is a symbol. The piercing of this ear is as considered in those days as a symbol of slavery. I mean, becoming voluntary slaves to the master. I'm not talking about the women who are having the ear piercing, because that is acceptable, understandable in part of their decoration of their body. But here about men who are having these piercing of ears is a clear sign. It's understood in the biblical terms. It is understood as your slave or someone. Your slave or someone. So you need to decide who's slave. So, and that this is some of slave or someone or some ideology or something. So there are people who have 1 ear pierced and moving around. It's better to also declare whose slave you are. So let's read verse 7. We read like this: when a man sells his daughter as a slave, she shall not go out as the male slaves do. So there are, because of the safety and security of those people. And verse 8, we read like this: if she does not please her master, who designated her for himself, then he shall let her be redeemed. He shall have no right to sell her to a foreign people, since he has dealt unfairly with her. Verse 9, if he designates her for his son, he shall deal with her as with a daughter. So there are so many moralities which God started giving them corrections of their culture. Their culture was very bad, and now God started correcting their culture. Verse 10. Let's read verse 10. If he takes another wife to himself, he shall not diminish the food, clothing, or marital rights of the first wife. So God is giving the protection for the first wife. If he takes another wife, make sure that the first wife should be treated fairly. So these are the because there is a history of people when they are having a second wife, the first wife is neglected, rejected, even wounded, and even destroyed and killed. So God is bringing equality in the community, slowly, step by step, bringing equality and in the community. Verse 11, we read like this, verse 11. And if he does not do these 3 things for her, she shall go out without debt, without payment of money. She will be completely freed.